Are you done reporting yourself to the police and writing an entire book detailing everything that could incriminate you? Believe it or not, these are real cases from criminal history. Now, whether it's because of the intense pressure of the situation while committing the crime that caused them to lose their sense of judgment, or maybe because of sheer foolishness and bad ideas in crime, these people will surely go down in history as some of the dumbest criminals of all time.
There's a new contender this morning for the title of World's Dumbest Criminal.
So this is an attempted robbery here by the Hamburglar. He's doing us the favor of showing us his face before putting his mother's pantyhose over it.
Please, God, here. All I could hear was cries from inside. Let me out, let me out.
This didn't take a detective to solve. It took a clerk at Hungry Howie's to solve it. Life's tough. Life's a lot tougher if you're stupid.
There are people who can't handle alcohol, and there are others who can't handle drugs. But think about this. You successfully smuggled a large amount of contraband on your road trip across U.S. state lines. Then you yourself end up calling the police to report yourself because of drug-induced paranoia. While you were traveling, you suddenly felt intense fear. It felt like you were cold. You just wanted to rest and relax. You went to a warm place. It may seem like a scene from a bad stoner comedy, but this really happened in real life. These two men are 23-year-old Holland Sword and 22-year-old Leland Ayala Duente. In 2007, they traveled from Las Vegas to Montana, carrying around 20 pounds of illegal substances in their trunk. Everyone knows that if you use too much of your own supply, there's a chance you'll overthink things. But it seems like these two didn't know that. While they were high, they even tried to test what they were carrying while traveling. But eventually, paranoia set in. They became convinced that there were undercover cops following them. Even though they didn't see any sirens or police, their own minds were playing tricks on them. Because of this, they were forced to stop at a gas station in Rexburg, Idaho. And that's where they decided to surrender to the police, even though no one was actually chasing them. The 911 dispatcher was surprised by their call. She couldn't understand what was happening because the police didn't know anything about any crime. No one had even caught them yet, but they turned themselves in. While talking to them, the dispatcher was calm and the conversation seemed normal, asking if they were dangerous. But it was clear that they weren't a threat. They also said that they didn't have any weapons, just snacks with them. At one point, they even said that they tried waving at the police just to get their attention and end their run. But of course, there were no police chasing them. It was like they just ordered pizza. They called the police and told them where they were going so they could get caught. When the authorities arrived, they found 20 pounds of illegal substances inside a dog cage that was still in the vehicle, along with $567 in cash. With tears in their eyes, the two men raised their hands behind their heads. Holland Sword admitted to possession with intent to deliver and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. But the court reduced the sentence and gave him 5 years of probation instead, along with 30 days in jail. But one of them suffered an even heavier fate. He was sentenced to 1.5 to 8 years in prison after testing positive for illegal substances on the very day of sentencing.
Once I hung up the phone, I kind of chuckled at myself and I just kind of shook my head and I'm like, that really happened, huh?
So the moral of the story is, study hard, avoid illegal substances. Situations like these are no joke. And if you ever end up using, never ever call the police to report yourself. But of course, there are other ways to become a mildly successful felon, like making sure you have a clear escape route after committing a crime and enough skill to get away. But that's not the case for one of the most mediocre porch pirates you'll ever see. Porch pirates are people who steal packages or parcels left by delivery companies in front of houses, usually on the porch or doorstep. They take deliveries from mail carriers or online retailers such as packages, letters, or other items. And in America and Canada, this has become a common problem. Our petty genius tried to snatch packages from a house in Mississauga, a suburb of Toronto. But unfortunately for him, he was caught red-handed by the homeowner. This is where his fight or flight instinct kicked in. And guess what he chose? He ran. His getaway vehicle, a Toyota Yaris, was just a few steps away. But things quickly went wrong. We're not car chase experts, but it's clear that a 6-speed manual transmission isn't ideal if you're not used to driving. In movies like Fast and Furious, it looks easy, but in real life, physics wins. So instead of escaping, the car got stuck in a snowbank. That's where his porch pirate adventure ended. While he was trying to get the car out, the homeowner couldn't help teasing him. "You're done, and yet I might even ask you for a shovel," he said, clearly amused by the karma that happened. While the commotion continued, the homeowner's wife called the police. It didn't take long. The officers from Peel Regional Police arrived and found the thief still trapped in the snow. He was immediately arrested and charged with theft under $5,000 and fraud under $5,000. The 33-year-old man from Brampton, whose name was not released to the public, definitely hit a literal icy end to his porch pirate career. Now, another lesson. If you really plan to become a criminal, for example, rob a bank, you need a real weapon that you can use in your criminal endeavors. Here comes 47-year-old Robert Andrew Fernandez, who would surely agree after his failed attempt to get quick cash from Lloyd's Bank in Custon on November 27, 2023. This wasn't his first time doing a heist, but it was the first time he faced real resistance, and that's when he really got into trouble. A 34-year-old customer named James Rowley was just standing in the bank, not in the mood, and thinking about his own problems. But when Fernandez entered wearing a motorcycle helmet and holding a weapon, that's when the trouble started. But the key word here is, apparently. Rowley noticed that something was wrong. The weapon looked fake. So instead of being scared, he went full hero mode and confronted the suspect, telling him to leave the bank. Fernandez still tried to continue threatening the teller, but suddenly he changed his mind and ran out of the bank toward his bicycle outside. Maybe that's when he realized that he should have bought a real weapon before trying to rob, because what he brought, instead of being scary, just looked funnier. But the story didn't end there. Fernandez didn't know that Rowley wasn't done yet. Out of annoyance, or maybe a sense of duty, he followed him, along with a friend who was in a van nearby. They quickly caught up with Fernandez and held him until the police arrived. What Rowley did not only helped in the arrest, but they were also able to gather evidence of the fake weapon that Fernandez left behind, which became the key to linking him to the attempted murder. And in 2 more cases in Barnet and Watford in the same year. After the investigation and trial, it was proven that he was involved in a series of crimes and was sentenced to life imprisonment. Meanwhile, Rowley received awards and recognition for his bravery, including a Police Bravery Award worth £1,200 and commendations from police officials. According to Detective Sergeant David Barnfather, James Rowley's courage was truly admirable in facing an armed and dangerous criminal. In court, Rowley said that it was just instinct that saved him. "When I saw him come in holding a weapon, I just acted immediately. I thought the weapon was fake, so I knew I had to act, but this isn't just about failed criminals. There are also cases of crimes that are so unusual that they seem to go nowhere, like with Roberto Arroyo, a 33-year-old from Salinas, California. He was caught on security camera doing something strange at a stranger's house. According to the report, he spent almost 3 hours licking the doorbell of a house. And yes, this is not a joke. He even urinated in front of the yard. The incident happened on January 5, 2019, in the Rosa Rico neighborhood in Salinas. The parents, Sylvia and Dave Danan, were not at home at that time, but their children were inside. The high-tech doorbell camera activated the security system, and that's when Arroyo's strange behavior was seen. Aside from licking the doorbell, he was also accused of stealing some extension cords connected to the Christmas lights in front of the house. But let's admit it, that still seems nothing compared to the exhausting 3-hour doorbell licking routine. There was even footage shown by the police. According to Police Commander Matt Maldonado of Salinas, what he did was really unusual and rude. He also said that if you just see the video, it will really make you think. After obtaining the disturbing footage, police spokesperson Miguel Cabrera said that if Arroyo is caught, he will be charged with prowling, theft, and probation violation. According to them, they have no clear explanation as to why he did that. The theft charge is because he removed the extension cords from the house lights. The police added that they already know Arroyo from previous incidents, so they immediately recognized him in the CCTV images. Meanwhile, the homeowner, Sylvia Dungan, had a rather chill reaction. She said, "It's just funny to look back on, but home security is really more important." She added, "It just seems funny afterwards because technically there wasn't really any major damage. But if you think that's already weird, there's something even crazier." In the next case, let's move to the other side of the world, to Thailand. Here we'll meet 22-year-old Aitken Kunkud, a thief from the central province of Phetchabun. According to local reports, on March 22, he broke into a house to steal. But no one knows what was going through his mind, because instead of stealing, he decided to sleep inside the house. What's even more surprising is that the house he broke into actually belongs to a police officer. Police Warrant Officer G.M. Prayer of the Huichen Buri District Police Station woke up the next morning and saw an unknown man sleeping in his house. It looks like he slept there the whole night. According to the investigation, the suspect had been observing the area for a long time and was looking for a house to rob. Around 2 in the morning, he entered the house while the family was asleep. But because he was tired and maybe because of the cold from the air conditioning, he decided to sleep first. And that's where his biggest mistake began. The police officer saw the air conditioner on in his child's room. Even though there shouldn't have been anyone there, when he looked under the blanket, that's where he found the thief sound asleep. Chaos erupted in the house when the police officer shouted to wake him. When he opened his eyes, he was immediately faced with his worst wake-up call. Nothing else happened. Backup arrived and he was immediately arrested. Fortunately for the family, he didn't steal a single thing. But he was still charged with breaking and entering. And the next case will show you that you don't need to sleep at the place you robbed to get caught. Sometimes just living without a plan is enough. The next case will prove that you really don't need to sleep in a place to get caught by the police. And you also don't need to hide properly. Sometimes just living without a plan is enough. And you even called the police yourself to turn yourself in. Just like what Antoine Sims did, Mr. Sims was involved in a more serious crime, but instead of avoiding and hiding, he did the opposite, as if he even wanted to get caught. In August 2022, the 24-year-old man from Georgia still couldn't get away from a minor disturbance at McDonald's. And what's surprising is that he was the one who called the police himself. It sounds impossible, but it really happened. Before we go back to the scene at McDonald's, we first need to understand why he was so afraid of the police. In 2018, he was already being sought for failing to appear in court. He was involved in a case where he was accused of burning a car with a woman's body inside after a drug deal that ended in a shootout. According to the investigation, Sims was the one who delivered the body and burned the vehicle with the victim still inside. Because of this, he was able to post a $275,000 bond, but he did not show up in court for the July 26 hearing. Fast forward to 2022, Antoine Sims can be seen just eating at McDonald's. He was wearing an ankle monitoring device. It seemed like an ordinary day, but everything changed when his order arrived. The fries were cold. That's when he got upset. He complained. He asked for the manager, but he didn't get what he wanted. So what he did was he called the police. Yes, 911 itself. He complained about the cold fries and about being banned from the establishment. In situations like this, usually only Karens end up embarrassed. But here, it was worse. Because Antoine Sims actually had an active warrant. He didn't know that his simple call would expose him. The owner of McDonald's said that Sims became aggressive and kept cursing repeatedly. That's why they requested that he be banned from the restaurant. This is when the police got involved. According to Kennesaw police officer David Buchanan, while investigating the complaint, they found out that Sims had an outstanding warrant from Fulton County for failure to appear. In the system, he was still listed as a wanted person, caution, violent, armed, and dangerous. The police tried to talk to him and asked him to sign a document, but that's when he realized it wasn't just a simple complaint. He even asked, "Am I under arrest?" And the answer was, "Okay." That's when he started to panic. He made a clumsy attempt to escape. But after just a few seconds, the police used a taser. And if you think the craziness of these kinds of criminals ends there, there's something even worse. Because sometimes these unusual criminals don't just get caught. Sometimes they even become the inspiration for movies, like the case of Christian B., which later became the basis for a film starring Jim Carrey. But that's a different kind of story. In this case, let's go back to the year 2007 in Poland. A Polish pulp fiction author named Christian Bala was sentenced to 25 years in prison for planning and carrying out the murder of Dariusz Januszkiewicz, a small business owner in Wrocław, Poland. Januszkiewicz's body was found floating in a lake in 2000, tied up and injured in a way that made escape nearly impossible. For 3 years, no one could solve the case until a detective found clues linking Bala to the crime. But this is where the case gets even stranger. It wasn't just physical evidence that became the key, but Bala's own book. It turned out that he himself included the details of the crime in his first novel, which was published 3 years after Januszkiewicz's death. It's unclear whether it was arrogance or foolishness, but what's chilling is that the details in the book almost exactly match the crime, with lines like, "I tightened the rope as he struggled, and with one hand, I attacked him in the chest." After the police pieced together the evidence proving Bala's guilt according to the investigation, his alleged motive was jealousy because of the suspected relationship between the victim and his estranged wife. Even though Bala insisted that his novel was purely fiction and only based on media reports, the evidence showed otherwise. Just like in the book, he called the victim on the day she disappeared and also sold the victim's cell phone online after the crime. A clear sign that this was not just the imagination of a writer, but a premeditated crime. At first, his conviction was questioned, so there was a retrial in 2008, but the court upheld the guilty verdict. The case became a huge sensation in Poland because it combined crime, literature, and media sensationalism. Because of this, Bala's novel became even more popular, and many people bought it to look for clues inside the book. But even though he was already in prison, his story didn't end there. While incarcerated, he started writing a second novel. The police, on the other hand, suspected that this might be related to another crime or plan. And during the investigation of his computer, they found even more incriminating evidence. Bala's case became the inspiration for various media adaptations, including an investigative article by David Gran in The New Yorker, which later became part of the book The Devil and Sherlock Holmes: Tales of Murder, Madness, and Obsession. The article also became the basis for the film Dark Crimes, which was shown at film festivals before being released in the US in 2017. Even after being convicted, Bala continues to insist on his innocence, even though the character in his novel is almost identical to himself. Until now, his case remains controversial in Poland.